The tyrant alcohol wielded a double-edged sword over us. First, we were smitten by an insane urge that condemned us to go on drinking, and then by the allergy of the body that ensured we would ultimately destroy ourselves in the process. Few indeed were those so assailed had ever won through in single combat. It was statistical fact that alcoholics almost never recovered on their own resources. And this had been true apparently ever since man had first crushed grapes. So before Jesus turned the water into wine, like 7,000 years before the AD was like, that's when they started drinking. And we just got our program in 1934, so. In AA's pioneering time, none but the most desperate cases could swallow and digest this unpalatable truth. Even these last gaspers often had difficulty in realizing how hopeless they really were. But a few did, and these laid hold of AA's principles with all fervor, which means with all of their might, which was the drowning sea's life preservers. They almost invariably got well. That is why the first edition of the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, published when our membership was small, dealt with only low bottom cases. Many less desperate alcoholics tried AA but did not succeed because they could not make the admission of hopelessness. It's a tremendous satisfaction to record that in the following years, this changed. Alcoholics who still had their health, their families, their jobs, and even 2 cars in the garage began to recognize their alcoholism. As this trend grew, they were joined by young people who were scarcely more than potential alcoholics. They were spared that last 10 or 15 years of literal hell the rest of us had gone through. Since step 1 requires an admission that our lives have become unmanageable, how could people such as this take this step? It was obviously necessary to raise the bottom the rest of us had hit to the point where it would hit them. But by going back into our own drinking histories, we could show that years before we realized it, we were out of control. That our drinking even then was no mere habit, that it indeed was the beginning of a fatal progression. To the doubters, we could say, perhaps you're not an alcoholic after all. Why don't you try some more controlled drinking? Bearing in mind, meanwhile, that we could have told you, we have already told you about alcoholism. This attitude brought immediate and practical results. It was then discovered that when one alcoholic had planted in the mind of another the true nature of his malady, that person could never be the same again. Following every spree, he could say to himself, maybe those AAs were right. After a few such experiences, often years before the onset of extreme difficulties, he would return to us convinced he had hit bottom. As truly as any of us, John Barleycorn himself had become our best advocate. Why all this insistence that every AA must hit bottom first? The answer is that few people will sincerely try to practice the AA program unless they have hit bottom. For practicing AA's remaining 11 steps means this adoption of attitude and actions that almost no alcoholic who is still drinking can dream of taking. Who wishes to be rigorously honest and tolerant? Who wants to confess his faults to another and make restitution for harm done? Who cares about anything of a higher power, let alone meditation and prayer? Who wants to sacrifice time and energy in trying to carry the AA's message to the next sufferer? No, the average alcoholic, self-centered in the extreme, doesn't care for this prospect unless he has to do these things in order to stay alive, right? In order to stay alive himself. Under the lash of alcoholism, we are driven to AA And there we discover the fatal nature of our situation. Then and only then do we become as open-minded to conviction and as willing to listen as the dying can be. We stand ready to do anything which will lift the merciless obsession from us. Wow, that's a lot to read. That's a lot to comprehend. That's a lot to chew down. So, real quick. This is the Tyrant alcohol. This is how cute I thought I was when I was drinking. But really, when I looked more like this guy. Can I use your holder? That would help.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would help. Here we go. All right. So, this is what I thought I looked like. This was kind of reality, what I look like. It's really, y'all relate to that? And all dolled up, nowhere to go. So, the Tyrant alcohol. When I read this and reread it, and I never really thought about it in any of the 12 studies that I've done, or any of the big book readings or any of that. I never thought of it as it said. The Tyrant alcohol was a double-edged sword. And when I think of the first step, it's only as much as the dying can be. I mean, we have to get this thing because it's not a head cold, I heard. And this chapter meant a lot to me when I think about my destructive drinking. It's been 10,555 days, which is a long time ago, but I tell you, as I've been in the program, it is only by the program that I'm still upright, sober, and still walking today. Because when I think about the days that I spent with the Tyrant, I'll show you what he took. He ate everything. Alcohol is a dissolvent. It dissolves stuff, right? It dissolves us. Okay, you're taking up too much time. So, with my alcoholism, it took away my self-will. I did not do the things that I knew that I needed to do. I did not do the things that I wanted to do because what I wanted to do was be just a normal human being, but drinking didn't allow it. It took away my children. I didn't raise my older two children. And I know there's other women in here that haven't raised their own children and they feel bad about it and they carry that guilt and that shame and that pain. My children were 1 and 3. I always had food poisoning when I drank, or maybe it was the brown bottle flu. I got it from drinking. My health, even though I thought it was cute to be drinking all the time, I had really bad stomach ulcers, really bad headaches, and always woke up with my head in the toilet because I would drink until I wasn't one that drank a little bit or drank and got a little of a hangover. I drank until I was poisoned, until I puked, until I swore I was never going to do it again. Another thing that alcohol dissolved was I was legally married 3 times by the age of 25. And I've been with the same guy now almost 30 years and we're not legally married, so see what sobriety can do. But my priorities, I spent my time at the bar instead of paying my bills. And so then when I didn't pay my bills, I got into a car accident because I didn't pay my car insurance. When I didn't pay my car insurance, of course I had to go bankrupt, so I can blame that on alcohol. That's the last one. Then the jobs. I was working at Nurse Finders, and it was Super Bowl Sunday, and the bar was doing the Super Bowl party, right? And I had to be there, but I'm taking care of this older person, and I really don't want to take care of them anymore because the party's going on at noon, Super Bowl Sunday. Well, anyway, I left my job. I left the woman that I was caring for with her granddaughter. I left to go to the bar. Well, Monday morning came, I lost my job. Don't have a moral compass. I don't have any values. I don't have any morals. I am very unfaithful. That's why I had 3 husbands. So, as you can tell, you know, there's a lot that was in that reading that, and I don't know how close I am to 20 minutes. Anybody can stop me any minute if you want to. But
Keep going.
just wanted to let you guys know that we have an allergy. It's an allergy to the body. I'm not like a temperate drinker. I can't have half a glass of wine. It doesn't work that way. An alcoholic finishes the whole glass and then can't wait. And I didn't stop until there was no more left. Or they closed the doors. They said I had to leave at 2:15, but I always went to the after party afterwards. I have an allergy of more, and never satisfied, because it always needed more. And the desperation, I think after just showing you just a couple of these, it'll show you how desperate I was. I did go into treatment in 1989. I walked out. They told me back in those days, in the 80s, it was shame. It was shame-based AA. It was, you're a bad mom, you're a bad person. You know, today we don't hurt or wounded. Those that are already down, we don't make them down any further. We meet them right where they're at, no matter where they're at. They're still using, they're still drinking. You meet people right where they're at, and you just love them. And hope that they'll make it back to the tables, because the book says it's a fatal progression. It's fatal. This disease is fatal. I don't know how many people that have sat in the chair that I'm sitting in right now that have passed away in this program. You know, it happens. It's jails, institution, and death. And us old timers and young ones, you might have your own history of people that are not here anymore, because they couldn't get a hold of this. We call it KISS. Keep it simple, sister. Keep it simple. Just don't drink, go to meetings, call your sponsor, work with other people, get a service position. You can do it. We're doing it right now at this moment. We're all doing it. So I'm so glad to be here. Thank you all for letting me participate in your meeting tonight. This meeting is awesome. Look at all the women. And the ones that I haven't seen in a long time. Jody, is good to see you. And, you know, it's just so many beautiful faces, and my friends here to support me, and my sponsor. She spends a lot of time with me, loving on me. Loves me right where I'm at. I don't know what I'd do without him. And my dear friend Jessie and Angie back there. And my new friend I just met at Amazon. So she's a great package to have too. So, you know, I'm just glad to be here. And with that, I guess I just pass, right?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, darling.
Thanks, darling.